I have a lot of gratitude for the world we live in and what we're just able to breathe some clean air and live the lives that we live at this moment. But also, last week, one of you, I can't remember who it was, told me that you went to go. We were talking about the river of crows that flies over at night. I was going to say flows over. It kind of does flow over at night. For some people in some areas, you get to see that, and maybe it's ravens in other places. And I forget, again, you can remind me when we're done with the sit, just remind me who you were, because I want to just thank you in person. But you inspired me because you were just like, oh, Kristi, you got to get out there and just go see where they roost. And I love seeing where birds sleep at night, trying to figure that out. And so this one night, a couple nights ago, I saw them going over my... There's one of them. I saw them going over my house, and I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go try and find their roost. And I knew it was in a town somewhere about 20 minutes or so away from here. And so I drove, got in the car really quick, got bundled up, whatever, and trusted that the crows would show me where they were. I knew sort of a general vicinity, and I ended up finding them. I saw one of they have staging areas. So there's a main staging area where they were. And then just as I was getting there, they were leaving the one staging area and moving to another one before they then go to their final roost. And honestly, I have to say, it was around sunset, it was getting dark, and it was like one of the staging areas was this sort of like run down parking lot with like car repair stuff all over the place. And there was nobody else around, a little sketchy kind of. The town itself is also like a rough and tough kind of town. And but to be amongst all the crows who were going to bed at night, gathering all together, it was the fish crows and American crows. It was magic, it really was a magic experience. And it was this experience that I want to bring into our practice this morning. It was something I heard, I don't know if you've ever heard, this is a Indian, I believe he's from India, teacher, Sagda Guru. I was listening to one of his wasn't a podcast, it was a YouTube video the other day, and he talked about this idea where so many of us are so busy, in our lives, and we just keep moving and moving and moving, and it's rare for us to stop, and just sit still. And he said, but when we sit still, that's when we are life, not like when we are in life, but that's literally when we are life. And so I wanted to bring that to our practice today, to tap into that idea of being in life and being in life with those that are around us. So I wondered if you all wanted to join me in that this morning. Thumbs up? Yeah? All right. Okay, great. So go ahead and find a comfy spot. I think a lot of you are already in your comfy spot. You know the drill by now. So just go ahead and feel your feet on whatever surface you're on. If it's the earth, that's awesome. If you can take your shoes off, as we will probably in the coming months, more and more, depends on where you live. Some of you are probably in a hot spot right now. So you can feel your feet on the earth, or feel your feet in your shoes on the deck, wherever you are, inside it may be. And just notice. And remember, you don't have to be looking at me during this practice, because really it's about you and your experience in the world and with the world. So as you're feeling your feet on the earth, just notice if there's any tension in your body. And you don't have to do anything about it right now. We're just noticing at first. We can shift it in just a moment. Just notice where it is. Notice if there's any softness in your body and where that is. And then become present and aware of your breath. Seeing how deep and full it may be, or how shallow and rapid. And again, we're just noticing, just letting it be. And take a few breaths with this awareness, with your feet on the ground. And now if you'd like, you can go ahead and just let go of that tension that you might be holding in that particular part of your body. It's your shoulders. See if you can drop your shoulders a little bit. Maybe it's your chest. You can practice just sitting up a little bit and holding your chest open in a soft way, not to force yourself, but just allowing the softness to enter. And then see if you can deepen your breath, even if it was deep before. As you take a nice deep breath in, allow it to fill your lungs all the way up to your head, to the crown of your body, and just let it go. Just slowing that rhythm down a little bit. Now that we've tapped into our inner being, start to expand your awareness outside of your bodies. We'll begin with our sense of touch. So regardless of whether you're outside or inside, see if you can notice any breeze or motion of air on the tip of your nose. What's the quality of that? Is it maybe stinging and sharp, or warm and soft? Maybe it's really subtle. Still taking your nice deep breaths in and out. And now, without losing your attention on your sense of feeling and touch, just deepening and expanding that, I'm going to send your awareness to your eyes right now. So if you're here with me last week, you kind of know the drill with this. So go ahead and find a point in the distance as far as you can see. And for those of you who are inside, if you can look out a window, that's great. If not, then just finding a point in the farthest wall that you can see. And really just focus on that one point far away. And then as you do that, even though you're focusing, see if you can soften your gaze. Just as you've softened your body, soften the tension. And as you do that, see what else you can notice in the environment around you, what more you might be picking up on. And with this practice of looking, we call it owl eyes. You don't necessarily have to go looking. Just by simply softening your gaze, all of a sudden, it's almost like more of the world becomes available to you. And now you can go ahead and bring your attention to the smells in the air. While your gaze is still soft, your breath is still deep. See what kind of scents you're picking up on this morning. You can take a couple quick breaths in, kind of like if you watch your cat or your dog ever smell the air, They do it kind of quick. You can try that out. And then go ahead and now bring your awareness to your ears. Just see, what is the first sound that your ears are drawn to? What direction is that sound coming from? What's the quality of that sound? Hopefully you're not all just hearing the crows back in my yard, which are awesome. Now I want you to imagine, think of a place that's not too far away, but also isn't anything you can see. Maybe it's a body of water, maybe it's a park, maybe it's a school, someplace with some sort of greenery, but nothing that you can see with your eyes. But I want you to imagine that your ears are taking you all the way to that place. See if you can stretch your sense of hearing to that landscape. What might you hear over there right now? And so in this softened state of being right now, I'd like you to take this practice, what we're doing, and carry it forward through the rest of the morning as we do in our practice right now. Keep your eyes and your vision soft, your hearing expanded in all directions, your nose and your sense of smell alert and aware, and your sensation of your skin heightened. And while we do this, we're going to sit still and quietly for the next 4 minutes or so. And while we're doing this, I just want you to ask yourself the question and see if you can allow yourself more so. I think that's better. See if you can allow yourself to just be life. What is that like to just be life right now? And so we'll go ahead and sit quietly. You can either choose to stay in the reverie of the moment or bring yourself back to the conversation right now. Just noticing what it's like to be life versus trying, versus thinking, versus worrying, versus planning, just being. And you can either stay with that question, stay with that state of being, or you can shift it just slightly to the question of what would it be like if you just allowed life to be, instead of trying to identify the sounds we're hearing or the birds we're seeing. What would it be like just to let it be, just to observe it as it is, as they all are? So let's try that on for a couple minutes, just letting life be. And we'll sit silently again for a few minutes here. All right, and now for the last few minutes, if you'd like to join me in this, sometimes by removing one of our senses, we can heighten the others. I know a lot of people experience this, folks who lose their sight notice that their hearing becomes heightened and more aware, and folks who are no longer able to hear notice that their vision becomes more acute. And so I'm going to try that out and play with that at the moment and just close my eyes. So if you feel like you're in a safe place, a place that you'd like to do this, go ahead and close your eyes for the next few moments. Just notice what's different about your experience, the different things that you hear and how you hear them. And then I'll bring us back. Okay, so when you feel ready, just bring your awareness back to this conversation. And then in a moment, you can slowly open your eyes and just take that time to gaze off in the distance, noticing who's around you. Confirming any suspicions you might have had about sounds that were being made. I know for myself, I actually chose to open my eyes for one moment because there was a really sudden and brief bird alarm. It was a junco and a wren made an alarm over there, so I don't know what they saw. There's a fence over here, my neighbor's is pretty tall and some holes in the bottom of it, so sometimes I can see like a cat moving through or something, but I didn't catch any sight of what it was, and it didn't last very long. It was just for a few moments. But then I also got to, because of closing my eyes, the sound that I had been hearing, which I actually had assumed was a white-breasted nuthatch. I've heard them make this sound. It's just like this little chattery, twittery. I've heard honey badgers do it actually in Africa before. It's like they twitter to each other. And which is funny because honey badgers are so badass and like fierce to hear like these fierce beings Twitter. They do. But it's like this sweet communication that they have with each other. And it's really similar to this sound I was hearing up in the trees. And I've heard the nuthatches do that before. So I made the assumption that the nuthatch was nearby. And then after I opened my eyes, I could hear the sound coming from, there's some fallen old dead trees on this rock wall over here. And the Carolina wren was over there and it was making that call. And it's a call I haven't heard it make before because it's a sweet conversation between it and its partner. There were two of them right there and they were just sort of twittering to each other. And that's usually something that is just reserved for moments where they feel, you know, where they're, yeah, I mean, I guess you could hear it on a regular basis if you really paid attention. But I think sometimes there's certain birds that only talk like that, or you only get to hear it when they feel really safe around you, and or they don't feel threatened. Maybe it's not about you at all, but they just don't feel like they're threatened. And so I know crows and corvids are like that, where you don't usually get to hear their sweet talk. But if you're at your sit spot, if you're sitting quietly and you're just in this kind of Zen state, which is why we practice this. It's not just for naught. It's not just to meditate simply. It's also to become more adept at getting closer to birds and having them feel safe being close to you. And so then you get these magic moments where you get to hear conversations that not everybody gets to hear, you know? So I love that. And I just want to say I'm really grateful for all of you showing up here today and being a part of this morning practice with myself. And I think Molly was able to join us. She was coming on a little late today, but I think she did end up showing up. So it's great to, oh, there you are. Hi, Molly, you're in the car. Yeah, so it's just really, really beautiful to be here with you all. And I'm going to open it up to anyone who wants to share any experience from this morning's practice. If there's anything you want to share with us or any bird question you might have, then I'll open the conversation for that. And if you have to go, then may you be well and be blessed today with love and joy. And we'll send good thoughts out to all those people in the world who are struggling right now and may not have the, I guess, the right and the pleasure and the luxury of being able to pause for a moment and listen to the birds. And so it's not wrong that we are doing that. It's a gift, and I think it's makes it even more real, the gift that it really is, that we get to take this time right now. So thank you for joining. And yeah, I'd love to hear from folks. So if you just want to either wave or do the virtual hand, then I can call on you as well. Let's see, I saw someone wave there. We wave again. Phyllis, there you are. Okay, go ahead, Phyllis. Just remember to unmute yourself. And then also when you speak, if you can, if you would please let folks know where you're calling in from, because that's always nice to know where people are in the world.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Phyllis, and I'm in Northern California. And the reason this is so bright is that I wanted to sit without a coat, so I'm sitting in my yard in the sun. And what was unique about this is that I'm about 6 feet from my bird feeder, which means that the first part of the sit, all of the 2,000 finches, house finches, and excuse me, and goldfinches were upset and were in the trees waiting for me to go away. But halfway through the sit, they gave up and came down. So everybody was at the feeder. I must have had 13 finches at the feeder, allowing me to sit here until I moved. And then they're back up in the tree right now. And I was confused about whether I was hearing Kristi's crows or my crows. And it was very strange because I'm used to my crows, but they weren't mine. I think they were yours, Kristi. But it's sitting and meditating and getting in touch with one's senses is a uniquely satisfying, peaceful. Now I've had some physical issues with some painful knees, and it went away completely during the sit. And so letting go, that's all. I don't want to take any more time, but it was very, very valuable. So thank you, Kristi. I'm glad to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Phyllis. That is a wonderful practice, I think, or piece of the practice, when we can let go. And sometimes it's the idea of focusing on those things and then intentionally letting them go that helps them to release in our bodies. So whatever it was, I'm glad that you had that experience. And just to let you all know, when I go into when we were sitting in silence, I always mute my speaker or my what do you call that? Not speaker, but microphone. I always mute my microphone so that whatever sounds you're hearing are probably your sounds, except when I'm talking, obviously, then you might be hearing my sounds. So yeah, just wanted to let you know that. And thank you, Phyllis. Suzanne, I see your hand is up over there, and then we'll call on you, Della, after that. Or Dell.
Hi, good morning. Um, when you had us close our eyes and turn off our vision and give our hearing a chance to dial up, I began to hear um, flight, the sound of wings. And then I realized that when my eyes are open, my brain puts all its energy into the sight of birds flying, and not the sound of birds flying. And suddenly, with my eyes closed, I was surrounded by the sound of wings, and that was amazing. And then one other just thing to note, I moved away from my feeders today, so I'm watching birds feed naturally, and they're hopping around on the snow. It's an incredibly warm day, but there's a lot of snow, and they're eating stuff on the snow, and I'm thinking that there's some kind of insect. I know that, Kristi, maybe you can tell me, are there springtails that hang out on top of the snow in the spring?
Is a springtail like a snow flea?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I know them by the name snow flea, and they do come out. They love footprints. Actually, if you look at any footprints or depressions, you'll see like a ton of little black dots in there, and those are little snow fleas that the birds love. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
so
don't
they're,
know what you're seeing. Yeah, where are you calling it in from again?
oh, I'm sorry, Southwest Colorado, up in the mountains at about 7,500 feet.
Yeah, you would definitely have them over there too, for sure. Uh-huh.
Well, that's cool. That's a really neat early spring feeding behavior that I got to see today. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that too, that idea of I was able to hear some wings also. And you're right, I think my brain just sort of shuts that off when I can see the flight. I don't hear the flight when I can see it, which is interesting. Not always, but for sure most of the time I'd have to say. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my awareness. Hmm. I saw Della, your hand was waved. Go
Yes,
ahead.
I just noticed. Well, first, I'm calling in from Monterey, California, the Monterey Peninsula. I live in Pebble Beach, and I'm sitting on our patio. And I've noticed in the last couple of weeks some different bird sounds from the same birds. So birds that I thought I knew their sound, and then all of a sudden now they've got a new sound. So perhaps it's the season.
That's a great question. So can you describe it all, the sound that you're hearing, like, and how it's different?
Well, the juncos, for example.
Okay.
I remember last year this time they had this sound that sounds to me like you're spinning something, and it's a real fast. And then during the winter, I didn't hear that. And now I hear it again and I go, oh, that's the juncos again. But they sound, and they've been here the whole time, but it's a different sound.
Yeah. What's your guess on that?
Probably the season, and it may have something to do with breeding.
Yeah. High five. Well done. Yeah, that's the sound that you're describing, and you did a great job at describing that. That's one of that's their song, which has many, I guess, speeds, you could say. The juncos can be a very confusing bird. They get confused with the chipping sparrows quite a lot. If you have chipping sparrows in your area as well, it's really challenging. It's actually a good challenge if you start to sort of bump your skill level up with bird song, to challenge yourself to try to distinguish the junco from the chipping sparrow, because there is a way. It just it takes some practice and takes some time out in the field listening to them, but yeah, so that's their song. And a lot of birds, there are some birds, like the cardinal's a great example here in the East. I know you have it out in the West in some parts, like in Arizona, but out here in the East, the cardinal will sing all winter long. Not as is fervent the right word I want to use, like fervently. They don't do it with like such vivaciousness as they do in the spring. But a lot of birds won't sing in the wintertime. You won't hear them singing, and they sort of reserve that energy and that for their springtime, where that's there's all sorts of theories as to why birds sing. There's sort of like the scientific theories, and there's like the magical, mystical theories. But if we're speaking just purely scientific, then birds can sing to claim their territory. They also vocalize to call in a mate, and so during the winter they don't want to be doing any of that. Some birds, that's not true about all of them, but some birds don't want to be doing that. But for me, that's always a great sign of spring. When you start to hear more of the bird song, because that means that mating season is underway.
Yes, I think it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Well done on hearing that too, and noticing the difference, noticing that you weren't hearing it and now you are, and it's different. And it gets even a little bit more layered because the songs of birds in the spring are a little different than they are as the weeks progress. They sort of have this warm-up time, in the early spring where they sing kind of partial songs, not full songs. So some people can get easily confused by that, where they're just like, wait, I'm hearing this sound. It kind of sounds like a song sparrow, but not totally. And it's just like, yeah, that's a song sparrow. They're just warming up, Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Della. Well done. For sure. Let's see, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Might just have to unmute yourself.
Good morning, everybody. So I am here in Sacramento, California, not far from Monterey. And as I came out to sit, the hummingbird was doing his diving, letting everybody know that's his bottle brush over there. So that was awesome. But I am very thankful for your classes, because day before yesterday, I heard the acorn woodpecker just putting up a ruckus in my front yard there right across the street. I'm like, what the heck? And he allowed me to see a red-breasted sapsucker, which was not one I'd seen here. So I checked that off my list. And he was not happy that sapsucker was pounding on his tree.
Wow. That's so cool, because I think oftentimes to hear sort of like interspecies alarms, it's a whole other layer of alarm. It's a little bit easier to hear a bird alarm that's referencing like a cat moving through or a hawk. Those can be pretty intense alarms, and it's pretty obvious. But to hear an interspecies alarm, and sometimes they are. I know the crows fool me all the time. Like all of a sudden you'll hear this big ruckus, and it's like, okay, there's got to be a hawk outside. And I go running out there, and it's like, oh no, there's just like another crow from a different territory that's come over, and now they're all upset at it. And so. But well done, Jackie. That's awesome that you were able to see that. Yeah, because of the acorn woodpecker, and because that something was up, that something was different. You were feeling that.
It wasn't, like you said, it wasn't the common conversations that, the acorn woodpeckers are very vocal. It wasn't that at all. He was hopping around in his tree, and he was just like, I'm not happy with you being there. You could just tell.
Yeah. And what was it that made you finally go and look and go see?
Well, so he was hopping around in the tree and making that noise. And I am looking for a hawk. I'm looking up and around.
Yeah.
But then my eye caught the pounding head movement of the sapsucker, who was completely ignoring the acorn woodpecker.
Like whatever.
In his holes. And I always seen evidence of sapsuckers here. Never ever gotten to see the sapsucker. So I'm so happy that you guys taught me, when you hear an alarm, you go out there and check it out.
Right on. Yeah. High five to you too. Well done, Jackie. Yeah. That's awesome. Thanks for that story.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Molly Songus, you have your hand up.
I love that story. Awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm here. I'm parked at a national wildlife refuge that I've never been before. So I was like in this process of greeting this place. And one thing I love is how I actually didn't. I only saw a couple birds from a distance, so I felt like I did a kind of more of like a tree sit. But I love how when I arrive somewhere new, um, I can only see so much, and then when I like slow down, it's like all of a sudden these different pieces will like reveal themselves. Like all of a sudden I can see the way like the trees are slowly bending, and I can like pick out in the whole stand of trees which ones are slightly moving. And then my eyes relaxed one point, and then boom, I could see the way the light was hitting all of the trees in the same way. But when I like come back to my like more acute vision, I can't see that very well. So it's just like all these layers that slowly reveal themselves. And then at one point, Kristi, you were talking about something, and my eyes went bam across the way, and I saw this perfect strand of spider silk or spider web going between these two trees that I hadn't noticed before. And you were talking about partners and the birds that like are looking for their partners and mates, and then the strand went glinted rainbow all the way through. And I'm in a queer partnership, so it made me think of my lover, and it was just like this perfect rainbow. I'd never seen a rainbow glinting through a spider strand. And it just allows layers and layers and layers of these relational meanings to kind of reveal themselves and be in my experience. That I just find like exquisitely beautiful. And I also want to mention the part about pain resolution, that oftentimes when I'm sitting still and peacefully, I'll have some kind of tension arise in my heart or in my piece of my body or in my psyche. But there's like this invitation to release that tension and to let whatever was trying to speak to me to speak or be released and to no longer carry it. And it is a process of, I think, relaxation around those arisings. But amazing to see how much I can let go of when I just try to expand around those sensations or befriend them or be well with them.
Like that.
And I just came from a doctor's appointment where I had all these these things that I was trying to process, but I don't feel the stress of that appointment anymore.
Yay, Molly. Thanks for sharing. I love the spider silk, and just I love how you see the world. You see the world in such a magic way, and it's a good reminder. I think it was Tom Brown who said that the world is always talking to us. It's just whether or not we're listening, And so people are always looking for signs or, maybe guidance with certain questions or issues in their life, and yeah, the world is always talking to us and always helping us out in that way, guiding us. So we just need to know how to listen, and this is a great practice to do that.
And how to be loved beyond our wildest imaginations. That's what I find. I'm like, oh God, it's like overwhelming how loved I can feel.
You're just the best. Thanks for your share, Molly. Patty, did you have something you wanted to say? Yeah.
See if I can unmute real quickly here. I'm in Roanoke, Virginia, and we're having a beautiful warm day here. I wanted to just say that the part towards the end of our meditation sit was when we let go of trying to make any sense of what we might hear or see, and just to live in the moment. And in my practices, that's always the place where when you come to it, life just seems to open up. And I just appreciate letting go of effort. And I thank you for including that part of the practice today. It's a very nice place to be.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Hello, everybody from Virginia.
Yay.
Thank you, Kristi.
Yeah, Patty, thanks for saying that. I think it's, especially as birders, especially as people who love birds, it's really, really easy for us to get so wrapped up in the naming of the birds and the species and identifying them and looking for the markings, which I love to do. It's so fun. It's like a challenge, like a puzzle or whatever. But at the same time, I think, to just remember that there is the magic out there in the world, and And it's not about the name of the thing, you know, and we can tap into that simply by just letting everything just be, you know, without having to put the names on it. So thanks for that. Yeah,
you.
that reflection. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Patty. Anyone else have anything they want to offer? Phyllis, are you waving your hand or are you just moving your hand? You're probably just moving.
No, I just wanted to comment that there was a sound that happened during the sitting that was unique and yet not unique. I'm an Easterner staying in the West, and suddenly I heard what used to be called a mourning dove, but out here is a Eurasian collared dove, and it's exactly the same call. So it was just interesting that both coasts have this experience, this sound. I just appreciated being able to isolate that. There's a lot else going on. I have hummingbirds acting crazy around me, and it's quite wonderful.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've been able I remember the Eurasian collared doves out in Colorado. I don't know that I've seen them out here in the east yet. I'm not sure if they've made their way out this way, but you know, I won't really open that can of worms, but I will say this, that I know some people want to demonize them because they are invasive in certain areas. I have to say, the very first time I saw one, I didn't know what it was. And I just thought it was the most beautiful bird I'd ever seen. It was so gorgeous. It has this beautiful like line on its neck. It's just so elegant and lovely. And I think it's always just a wonderful thing just to remember that these are just creatures, and they're often not here because of their choosing, and they still have something to teach us, you know? And the Eurasian collared dove is one of those birds. And I, Phyllis, just because you and I have worked together in the past, I would nudge you or challenge you a little bit to listen deeply to their call and song and see how it might be similar or different from the mourning dove. Because there are ways that you can tell them apart. There are some similarities for sure, but there are some differences too. And so that's going to be my little teacher nudge for you to to try and find what those are.
I'll take out the challenge. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right, y'all. Any last? I don't see any hands up. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining. Yay. And I think next week, Miss Molly is going to be leading us. So yay, that'll be awesome. I'm not sure if I will be able to be here or not. I haven't figured out my schedule for next week yet. We start our birdsong class, I think next week. It's starting on the 9th? 9th? Is it already going to be the 9th next week? I don't know, whenever that is. So I might be doing stuff with that. But anyway, it was great to see everybody. Thank you for coming, and we'll just keep sending out reminders, and we're just going to keep doing this. So enjoy your day, your world, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.